Hey readers, welcome back to the Book Nook, the cozy corner for readers who love to dive deep into all things books. Whether you're all about annotating your paperbacks, obsessed with audiobooks, or can't stop scrolling through Book Talk, we're here to talk about everything bookish. I'm Desiree, reader and serial book collector, and I am so happy to be your co-host alongside my amazing friend Cameron.
Hi everyone, I'm Cameron, and when I'm not working, I write romance books that are usually set in Italy. My first book, I'll Look For You Everywhere, came out this year if you want to add it to your what to read list. Haha.
Together, we're on the community and editorial teams at Fable, the free app for finding, reading, tracking, and chatting about books.
That's right, and we're so excited for today's episode because we get to chat with Heather from Heath's Book Club, a legendary presence on Book Talk, Bookstagram, and BookTube.
Yes, and Heather has been an influential in the book space since 2023, building a cozy, bookish corner of the internet that feels like a warm cup of tea on a rainy day. Heather McLarry, known as Heath's Book Club on all her platforms, is a dedicated reader and content creator, and we're lucky enough to call her a friend. She's passionate about slow living, storytelling, and deep diving into the books that make us feel everything. Whether she's sharing her latest reads or creating thoughtful bookish content, Heather has created a space that welcomes everyone. So, to get us started, what have you been reading recently? Anything that we should add on our TBRs?
I have so many books, but first I want to say you calling me a warm cup of tea just made my day. I like you said that. I'm over here like, oh my God, really? A warm cup of tea. Thank you so much. That's a huge compliment.
It's
What have I been reading recently? I've been a little bit all over the place. I've definitely started mood reading a bit, specifically this week, rather than like reading books that aren't required reading, but like my book club book or like a book I needed to read for a friend. So this week I have been reading a lot of werewolf romance books with questionable covers, but they're amazing, amazing books. And then I also, actually, it's within arm's reach of me, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir.
Mhm.
I just recently finished that book last night, and that's fantasy on the different spectrum of werewolf romances, but it is so good. And I just tried to get the second book from my library with Libby right now, like before I got on here, because I need to read the second book ASAP.
Love
wow.
that. And I love that you're not like, I know a lot of people will, judge a book based on its cover, and if it's a questionable cover, we're going to stay away from it, or if it has like real people on it. Love that
Yeah,
you're not, you know, letting those aside, giving them a chance.
I I definitely, when I first got into my reading journey, when I was going through a bookstore, or I guess still now today, when I'm going through a bookstore, sometimes I do let the cover deter me. But when on Kindle Unlimited, it is a different ballgame over there.
So true. That is so true.
Yeah, that's definitely judgment-free zone. I'm still building courage, like in bookstores, like even walking in the romance section, I'm still like, "Ugh, like no one look at me, please." Which
Me
I'm
too.
so stupid because I write romance books, but some of those covers, man, they really show a lot. They don't leave anything to the imagination, and
Exactly. In the bookstore, also like going to check out with a questionable cover is a whole different ballgame because knowing my luck, I'll walk by like a group of teenage boys and then it's game over.
the,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. Well, at least they're in the bookstore. Okay.
That's true.
So you always have such great recommendations. Just want to let you know, you're one of my I have like three or four, I'm gonna call you an influencer. Influencers that when you post about a book, immediately screenshot and it goes into my folder of like, I need to read that. So just letting you know. And are there any upcoming releases that you're excited about?
I think the only one that I have read that I'm excited about, I can't think of any off the top of my head that I haven't read yet, that are coming out. I just haven't been paying attention a lot to new releases because I have such a huge TBR, like physical TBR behind me. But the one new release that I can think of that I've actually read is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I think that actually might have been my favorite book that I've read this year. It is just toxic lesbian vampires. That's really all you need to know. And it is incredible. 6 out of 5 stars. It comes out in June, I think.
You know what? Dylan, we just had Dylan on our
Yeah.
podcast last
Okay,
episode,
yeah.
and he said the same exact thing.
Really?
Word
Yeah.
for word.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I just recently started following his content and I'm obsessed with it because I saw a video of him talking about that book before I even got the arc. And
Hmm.
then the arc came in the mail for me and I was like, okay, twin, we both love it. This is great. It's really good.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. And one more question, and then we'll get this interview started. As you know, Fable has like quarter stars, so we wanted to
Hmm.
know what's your most specific book rating? Like, there is a, like, I don't know, because for me, sometimes there'll be a 5-star read, and then I'll deduct 0.25 stars because like one thing happened. I'm just wondering if you have
Yeah.
like a weird book rating that you've had before that you know of.
Quarter star wise, it's always 3.75 stars. I don't know what it is. That's why I love Fable doing the quarter stars because that's
Mm.
the one rating I gravitate towards
Mm,
so often. And I don't even know how to fully describe what that rating means to me. Like, I don't know if it's a great book, if it's a bad book. Like, I don't know other than I use it all the time if I just had a good time reading the book, but it wasn't like perfect in my brain. I'm like, okay, 3.75.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
a staple. It's a
It's a
staple.
staple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, as an introvert, we would love to know because Cami and I are also there, so we feel it. How do you navigate the public nature of content creation on platforms, especially since you have such a huge following?
I think it's for me making content in my brain, it's me making it for my best friends and for as if like who is watching my content is my real life best friend, like my best friend Georgia who lives next door.
Mhm.
I'm making it as if I'm talking to a friend, so it doesn't feel like I'm talking to a broad spectrum of people. And I also feel like my content, it's very organic, and sometimes it's just me like flipping open my camera and just like chatting without, there's no ring lights. Majority of the time, there's probably like one time I've used a ring light before, but it's all very organic to where it just feels like I'm chatting immediately with a friend. And so it doesn't feel like anything crazy outside of the box for an introvert, which is why I like it, because it just feels very much in my nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. That's such a great way to look at making videos is just filming for your best friend. I love that because it really does come through in all your videos. It is very
Thanks.
organic. So we love
It
that.
also takes the pressure off of thinking that people are perceiving you because I don't love to be perceived at the end of the day. So with me filming that way, it takes that pressure off as well.
Mhm. That's actually so funny because Dylan said the same thing.
Okay, Dylan and I actually need to be best friends.
Yeah,
Let
because he
me
said he doesn't
DM
like
him.
being perceived either. This is, ah,
Oh my gosh, I'm actually gonna DM Dylan after this and be like, "Hey, we should be best friends."
yeah. Okay, great. We're building connections. I love
I
this.
love it.
Before you started posting bookish content, the OGs will know that you were mainly sharing your travel adventures. Was there something in particular that made you want to switch gears into the book world?
So I originally started making van life specific content. I lived with a little school bus, but I did van life and that broad spectrum on social media. And so my day to day posting content was me talking about my everyday life and everything about me. And I realized when I was coming to a close of like finishing up van life where I couldn't really travel anymore, it was just too much for me. You can only do that for so long before you start to go stir crazy. I was like, wait, I really love making content and I would love to continue doing this, but my content has been my journey traveling and my life. And I don't really want to talk about my life anymore on the internet. I still talk about my life occasionally, but at that time it was like my every second of the day almost, it felt. And you can only take so many people with no profile pictures telling you what you're doing wrong with your life before you start to go even more crazy.
Hmm.
So I was like, what are my hobbies? What could I like make content in that would be fun for me? And at that point, I just kind of started getting into book talk. And I was like, you know what? Let me start talking about books on the internet because I love creating content and I love yapping about my books. But at that point, I only had one friend in my life that read. So I really didn't have anybody to connect with about that hobby of mine. And so I just kind of like completely switched over. I stopped making van life content and I was like, I'm just gonna talk about books on the internet. And if people want to be my friend, that's great. I just don't want to talk about my everyday life 24/7. I'm not a full lifestyle content creator. That is not for
Hmm.
me.
And how was it? Oh, there's that word again, perceived by people. Did you like were people immediately like welcoming and excited for this, or was there, a bit of a I don't know how to explain this, like a bit of a I don't know, resistance at first?
Are you talking about my following that I had in
Yeah,
my van life content?
yeah.
So I made complete new accounts. At that
Mm,
moment, I have not even I still have my TikTok up from my main one because that's always kind of been my main platform. On TikTok specifically, I made a completely new account. On Instagram, I made a completely new account. I was like, I don't even want to try and transition people over. I feel like this part of my life has come to a close.
Hmm.
And as much as I have like valued these people that have like come alongside me with this journey, it has come to a close. So I just made new accounts and just went on a whim. And I was like, I didn't fully expect the growth that I have right now. I'm very grateful for it. But when I started, I just wanted to like keep making content and like have fun and branch out and like meet new people on the internet that had a similar hobby to me while I could also like fulfill that creative side of my brain. Um, but on YouTube, that's really the only space where it overlapped a little bit, but it wasn't big enough of a platform to where there was any resistance or anybody
Hmm.
being like, why are you posting book reviews?
Yeah.
I think the people who wanted to be there stayed and they were like, wait, I love that you've kind of gone in this direction. And then the people that didn't just silently left. And it was kind of nice.
It's great. I mean,
Yeah.
to do it not once but twice, like to, oh, it's so inspiring. Good for you.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely.
it's really fun for me. Like making content in general is just it's a blast and it fulfills like such a creative side of my brain. So whether that be like making van life, it had its moment, loved it. Book stuff is really where my heart's at now, and I love
Mhm.
it.
Awesome. Well, before we have like another question, but off of what you just said, I'm curious to know if you have like like a favorite part of creating content. Is it just like the entire thing in general, or do you have something that you're always looking forward to specifically?
I think it's the community aspect of it,
Yeah.
like meeting when you meet in the van life sense, like there was a lot of trolls with that type of content, but the kind people that I did get to interact with, like that is truly my favorite part and was my favorite part of that. And that rolls over even more into the bookish space. I love connecting with people and I love connecting with people that I wouldn't connect with in my day-to-day life or people that have opinions that I wouldn't hear that in my day-to-day life. Like it's just fun to connect with people. And that's kind of like the biggest part of putting out a video. It's not like shooting it or anything. It's like posting it and be like, what are the girlies gonna say? Like I can't wait to
Yeah.
chat back with them.
Absolutely relate to that. It's such a we talked about this in our last episode about how specifically as introverts, right? Like it's so hard to create those really valuable connections, especially as adults. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Cameron and I and Dylan too, we all talked about how just the bookish community has, brought us all closer together and we were able to meet. Like I got to meet Cameron through socials, I got to meet you through socials. It's just like
Yeah,
I wouldn't have met you otherwise. I'm in Canada. How would I have met you
no,
otherwise?
literally.
But totally relate to that. And the next question we wanted to ask you, because we saw that you moved again. We've been keeping up with your socials, especially with like the hiccup that happened last week.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So first off, congratulations, because
Thank
moving
you.
is a huge thing. But when unpacking your bookshelf, do you have like a box of holy grail books? Is there like a specific bunch of titles you need to unpack first?
There is, and I don't know if it's necessarily unpack them first, but there is what I call my first class books that sit in my front seat of my car when I first travel up here. And I kind of treated all of my books this time around because I have so many with this move. I feel like the last time I moved, I had probably a fourth or a third of what I have now. I've really been trying to collect my physical media recently. This time around, I feel like all my books were treated with so much more respect, but my first class books that sat in my front seat were my Mariana Zapata books,
Yeah.
my Ninth House. Trying to look up here and see what else my any arcs that I had. So I have an arc of like the new V. Schwab book. So that one
Mhm.
sat up
Mm.
front, and they sat in like a specific crate that had like a box in it. And I didn't unpack them first, but necessarily, but they did. They did sit up there, and I braked. They were buckled in and braked very slowly, and were treated with a lot more respect.
Love that.
Yeah. You definitely got me into The Wall of Winnipeg. It's because you were posting about it, and I had tried to read one of her books before,
Hmm.
and I liked it. I can't remember. Wait, okay, I can't remember the name.
Is it All
Was it
Roads
the
Lead
ice
Here?
skating one?
No, a football player, and like he
Hands down.
green
Yeah.
card. What is it?
Was it hands down?
Was it? Wait, I'm so confused. What the one that I just read, where she moves back to her hometown?
So that's all roads lead here. You tried to read the Wall of Winnipeg and me previously. That's the one with the green card.
Oh, wait. Wait, what did I just read? What's it called?
You just read All Roads Lead Here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say, if you're talking about, I can't even remember how you referred to it at the beginning. Well, you said going back to her hometown, but yeah, I thought of All Roads Lead Here first off. But if you just said age gap, that would have
Right.
been.
I don't, my brain, and like my brain felt that we were having like a malfunction, but I tried to keep
Okay.
going. All Roads Lead Here was
Yes.
easily one of my top books of
It's
2025.
so
It's
good.
So good.
so good. And I am a lover of spice. Of course. But
Yeah.
there's something about a good slow burn
Oh,
that,
when he's like the best with slow burn, I swear. It's just like, and anytime, okay, when I try to get out of a reading slump, I
Mhm.
usually stay away from bigger books. But Mariana Zapata will always get me out of a reading slump, no
Always.
matter like how bad it is. And I read through those so quickly, even though they're like
they're huge.
600-ish pages.
Yeah.
Same.
I didn't even feel like I was reading. It just felt like there was a movie going on in my brain. It was so incredible, and I owe it all to you. So I just wanted to let
I'm
you know.
glad you liked it. It was funny trying to hear you describe the wall. You said the wall of Winnipeg and me, and he's the one who is trying to like get his green card so they get married.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I read that a few years ago and only read the first few chapters. Don't know why I stopped, but now that I know how good she is and the buildup that happens, I'm
Mhm.
totally going back to that book
Try
because
that one, and then please, after that one, if you like it, read Wait for It. That one's my favorite of hers, but I feel like you have to read that after The Wall of Winnipeg and Me.
oh, I thought All Roads Lead Here was your favorite. This is wonderful.
So Wait
Yay!
for It and All Roads Lead Here are kind of tied a little
Mhm.
bit, but I think Wait for It might be just like slightly a little bit more because the man has a buzz cut and something about buzz cuts
Oh,
really do it for me.
it's giving Channing Tatum. Yes. Okay. I love that. Okay, so speaking of slow burns, you're a big fan of slow living. How does this
Um,
philosophy manifest in your daily routine, especially regarding reading and content creation? Like we said, you are like a warm cup of tea. Do you have any advice for anyone feeling worn out? How do you get back into the groove? You know?
I think getting back into the groove and living slowly to start, I started actually with a warm cup of tea and I just like chill out. I think when it comes to content creation, it can be very hard to not want to continue slow living because the initial response with like creating content is like buy something new, show your followers something new, like always have like new and extravagant things that you can like show off. Um, but making content in the bookish space is so nice because with my type of content, I don't feel the need to like live outside of my means and do anything crazy because when in doubt, I'll read on Kindle Unlimited. Or I will buy secondhand books, or I will do a book haul here, but I don't need to do a book haul every other day because that's too much for me.
Mhm.
I really like slow living when it comes to like reading books and stuff. I'll start my morning with like tea and then reading a book, taking my dog for a walk. It's my daily routine, getting some work done. And then I don't know, I don't have any crazy goals for myself, which makes my life a little bit slower. I
Mhm.
think goals are really important at the stage of life that I'm in, though. I don't feel the need to challenge myself in this really extravagant, crazy way that I used to when I was like a teenager. So that also slows down my life a bit more. I'm just trying to like live and smile and go for long walks with my dog and
Mhm.
maybe read a good book.
That is so refreshing to hear. I think, you know, especially with content creation and just our generation in general, it's all about how can you reach these insane goals, and the younger you are, like the better it is. And I think that adds a lot of pressure to anyone, and not even if you're in content creation, just watching other people like, you know, hitting those goals, it makes you feel awful. So to see someone like finally say, you know what, there's no goals in my life right now, I'm just living life. I love that. That's wonderful.
And I will probably set goals, at some point,
Mhm.
maybe in a month. I mean, who knows? But I just know at the moment I'm not looking to set any crazy goals. I'm just trying to exist, and sometimes existing is hard enough. And at the moment, I'm mentally stable to where like existing is fine, existing is good. But I just sometimes I think we're so pressured, like you were saying, with social media. You're always seeing people trying to achieve, and the younger you are, like you were saying, the better and it is, or the better it's at least perceived to other people. But sometimes I think it's okay to just exist and live a good life, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, it's so important to just remind ourselves that it's okay to like slow down, especially like Cami said, in our generation. Currently, we're being like brainwashed into trying to go as fast as we possibly can, and I've fallen victim to that so many times.
Same.
But it's just like you can't know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
why should
No, exactly.
why should you be trying to rush to plan what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I love that philosophy, and I think it's so important. I'm moving back to romance books, but since we know you're a big fan of romance, aren't we all? Do you ever choose books just because they have a specific trope? And if you do, is there like, do you have a favorite trope? We might fall into the enemies to lovers versus friends to lovers debate, but any favorite tropes that you look out for?
I think this year I haven't really been reading books based on tropes, but which is kind of weird for me. Now that like you asked that question, I was like, wait, I haven't been gravitating towards books based on their tropes, romance wise. But in previous, or at least last year, and what will probably I'll probably start paying attention from here on out. Normally it's like single dad tropes or single mom tropes. I love a found family aspect that kind of comes along with that. And so I normally gravitate towards those. I normally gravitate towards a healthy age gap one, not I need the girl to be like in her mid 20s. And the man can be like below his 40s, but anything under that or over that, a healthy age gap,
Mhm.
I do enjoy. Like All Roads Lead Here, enjoyed that, loved it.
So good.
That is ideal. And I think those are kind of it. We don't really have to go into the enemies to lovers, friends to lovers debate because those aren't really tropes I gravitate towards. I like them. I just don't ever like look out for them.
Right. If you like a single parent-esque trope, did you just read Elsie Silver's book? What's it
The
called?
one with
Uh,
this not the sumo wrestler, the
he says WWE wrestler. Yeah.
WWE.
Yeah, that was great. I had fun with that.
Okay, I haven't read it yet. I was thinking about listening to the audio version of it because it has dual narrators. So
Hmm.
I might. I've seen the graphics and I actually am really intrigued that this man is in the WWE because every year I've tried to get a friend to go with me to a WWE match because I used to watch that as a kid. Like I've
God.
been around the block. That was my stuff on Monday and Friday nights.
That is
So
so
now,
funny.
yeah, Bill's character.
Because I thought when I was reading it, I was like, this is so specific and like such an odd career choice that she has chosen. I'm like, who really is watching that anymore? And there you
I
are. So,
I do not watch it anymore, but I will say
mhm.
that was my childhood. Me and my cousins, Monday Night Raw and I think Friday Night Lights. I don't remember what it's called. Something
Mhm.
crazy. We thought that was real. We thought the fighting was real. It made all of us like be quiet at my grandmother's house in the back room. So I am excited to read this new book from her because not only single parent, but also I get a touch of my childhood
Yeah, I think
in it for sure.
you're gonna love it. Yeah.
If you love, because we all love small town romances, and especially for the single parent trope. Have you read anything by Catherine Cowles yet?
I I think the book I read from her is called Fragile Sanctuary. I think
Yeah,
that's the
that's
one. It has like a tie-dye cover.
yep.
I read that one. I liked it so much because it had a subplot that was like a little bit anxiety inducing in the best way or like adrenaline inducing. There was like
Yep.
something else crime wise going on alongside the romance.
Mhm.
Like I loved it a lot.
Yeah, Beautiful Exile just came out, I think
Okay.
yesterday. That follows, of course, I can't remember her name, but it follows another sibling in the Colson family. And the next book that's coming out, now that Beautiful Exile is out, I can like mention it, but the next book is going to be single parent trope.
Okay.
And the male main character is like the town's sheriff, and he has a little girl who's absolutely amazing, and basically like he's gonna fall in love with a new character that comes into town, and I feel like that would be something you would enjoy. So just to put that on your radar, because I
I
found her
yeah.
like a few months ago. Oh, she's so good.
I need to read more of her books. I read that one because I got the special edition that came out of it. It was like a hardback cover of it, and I read it. And actually, I read that last summer. It's been a bit. I need to go back and read some more of her books. I think they're available on Kindle Unlimited too.
I think so, yeah.
Anytime you say sheriff, I think of Charlie Swan, and I'm rooting for him in like a romance,
Yep.
feeding
Yeah,
my age gap, part of me. So
I
I'm
can't lie.
down. No idea what you guys are talking about, but I'm down.
That's who I was picturing too.
Hmm.
Anytime you mention like sheriff, I do
No.
picture Charlie
I
Swan.
am I am right there with you. Although like I we see him in two of the books so far, like Beautiful which one is it? Fragile Sanctuary and then Beautiful Exile. He's one of the brothers.
Okay.
So the one with the little girl. So that's his book. That's going to be the third one. But I feel you. Like whenever I read something and it's like the town's sheriff, I'm like, oh Charlie, what are you
Hey,
doing here?
Charlie.
Okay, so here's another book-related question. Are there any authors that, without even knowing what the book is about, you would buy from? Like, who are the authors that you would start physical fights for to defend?
At the moment, it's Mariana Zapata. People saw that coming from a mile away. Mariana Zapata, and then V.E. Schwab, as of this year, has become one of those authors for me. And then an author prediction for an author that I think is going to end up on this lineup after reading only one book by this author, but I talked about it in Ember in the Ashes. Saba Tahir, I think this author might be on that list sometime soon because I loved Ember in the Ashes so much.
Wow, okay. Is there romance in that fantasy
There's
book?
like a little subplot, but it's nothing crazy. So it's nowhere not romantasy in the slightest. But there
Okay.
is, I think, gonna be a little subplot. But also people keep telling me this book series is gonna break my heart. So I don't want to recommend it for romance because what if something bad happens?
Okay, noted. Because I know Haley, who also works at Fable, she loves
Yeah.
Sabbath here. So two great people have recommended it. I feel like it's time for us to hop on that bandwagon.
Yep, I agree. And obviously, I knew that Mariana was going to be on that list, and so I want to
Um,
squeeze in a little question about how are you feeling about all the updates that she's been posting on Instagram and just teasing us with the new book.
every single time I comment in hopes that she will be when the book's done, she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, let Heather read this early." It's me being eager because I really love Mariana Zapata. It's nothing new. Like I'll scream that from the rooftops every day. I've loved every book that I've read by her. These updates like make me want to chunk my phone across the room,
Yep.
and I need the book now. Actually,
Yeah, I think the last one she published, I can't remember the name. It was the one with the
when
superhero.
Gracie met the Grump,
Yes. Oh, I read that one when it came out, and it was so fun. But how long has it been since she
it's
popped a book?
It's been a while because I read When Gracie Met the Grump when I was still doing van life, and that was years ago. So I started, yeah, I started it, and that book is actually, I love that book. It's one of my least favorites of hers because I love so many of the others and connected
Yeah.
to so many of the others. That one I actually DNF'd it the first time that I read it because it was so slow at the beginning. I thought she
Mhm.
was teasing me. I thought she was like, let me see which one of my, like, I need to, my real ones will stick around for how slow this is going. And I was like, hey, I need to take a break. And then I came back around and I was like, okay, I can do this. But it's been years since that book came out.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I bet that like everyone, well, I mean, I'm part of everyone. I'm definitely freaking out for the release of this new one. I can't believe it's been that long though. I feel like I read it
Yeah.
just like a few months ago, but no. Um, yeah, so definitely excited for that one too. And one question that Cami and I really want to talk about, especially me, because I also have not read this series yet. But how are you coping with the infernal devices? I just saw Cameron's face.
Okay. Okay, wait. I get them confused. There's the Mortal Instruments and there's the Infernal Devices.
Hmm.
The Infernal Devices is the 6 book series, or is
No,
that
I'm
the three
confused.
book series? No, hold on.
Wait,
I,
It's the one with Tess Gray is the one I'm talking about. Is the main character. Tessa. And
I
it's
have
like in the
no idea.
1800s.
Yeah, so her other series is also okay, yes. I read the first book of that series. The first one is Clockwork Angel. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the Infernal Devices, and there's also her other one, the Mortal
The
Instrument
Mortal.
series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they made
And
the
I
show
got
of that. Hmm.
yeah, I got confused because I'm reading both of them right now.
Oh, you are at the same time?
So I read Clockwork Angel back in January because Daisy, a girl in my book club, picked for me to read that book alongside our book club book.
Hmm.
Just because it's something fun I do now. I read a book that someone recommends me and I give everybody my thoughts on it. And I was like, okay, never read Cassandra Clare before. Let me read Clockwork Angel. So I read that book in January and I loved it. I had so much fun. That was my first time ever reading Cassandra Clare. I haven't read the second or the third book in that series yet because the girlies in my book club were like, hey, what if we read all of her books together? So we're reading now the first three books in the Mortal Instrument series. Then we're going to do the Infernal Devices series. Then we're going to finish the last three books in the Mortal Instrument series. So I'm like all over the place with Cassandra
That's a
Clare
good
at the
plan
moment.
then. Okay. No, because like you'll understand for our next question, but infernal devices, like I stayed home from the school because I was mourning the like not that anyone dies, but just mourning finishing the series.
Mm-hmm.
I could not cope and I was in high school at that point. Like I was fully functioning adult by that time.
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I need 2 days." So I took off 2 days. That's how much it affected me, and I can't wait for you to continue that series. Mortal Instruments, don't really know much about it, but Infernal Devices, because I go zany for anything that takes place in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit of me. Yeah.
I think the Infernal Devices takes place in the same world as
Hmm.
Mortal Instruments. Um, I think you would actually really like the first book in the Mortal Instruments series because the two like kind of love interests were giving me the same vibes as the two love interests in Infernal Devices.
I guess
So
it's
maybe
time.
it's your
Yeah.
time to it's time.
It's
See what I
especially time for me. I feel like because I watched the Netflix series that I can't, Shadowhunters that's based off of I don't
Uh-huh.
know which series it is from Cassandra, but I have like the
Later.
first trilogy. I own them. I just need to read them. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I think I've read the first two books in the Mortal Instruments now, and then we're reading two books a month in my book club. So it's gonna take me all year probably. I'll get to I guess the third book in the Mortal Instruments next month, and then we'll go from there. And hopefully, I won't get ahead of myself and ahead of the girls in the book club and just binge them all in a month. But
So
Yeah,
do you
that's
read, so you read two books for your book club, and then do you have time to read other books outside of your book club books?
yes, because I am a binge reader through and through. So when I start a book, I need it to be done within 3 days. And that's not because I set a time limit on myself. That's not because I don't really care about my reading goal. It'd be nice to hit, but it's not because of that. I just like, I love to binge read a book and to be all in for a few days. And if I can't dedicate time to a book, then I just won't read one for a couple
Mhm.
days. So I read two for book club, one that we all pick together, and then one I just like randomly pick someone there to choose one of their favorite books for me to read, which is so fun. I feel like the girls who've been giving me books for the past 3 months, they've all been incredible books. So it's been fun, like finding new reads that way. So there's kind of two books every month where it's necessary reads. Like I'm not going to force myself to read anything. I might DNF them, but they're kind of books that I just like need to read for book club. And then I read a ton of other books other than that. I think I've been reading like 10 a month, maybe 12 a month.
My God. That
I
is
yeah.
so cool.
I
I did
used to
not
be
know.
able to, okay, crazy story. I used to read like around 10 to even 20 books a month while I was
Mhm.
in college. And I still to this day don't understand how I manage because now I read like four, five because
Yeah.
I work so much. But I don't understand, like personally, how I physically managed to read so many books in a month because now I just can't even imagine that. But I miss it. I miss it so much because I obviously I love reading. If I could do it for a living, I would. But ugh.
Reading for a living is a little bit intertwined with what I I'm doing like with
Yeah.
content nowadays. So it does make people are like, how do you read so many books? I'm like, hey, I need you to not compare yourself to me because
Yeah.
I am at the end of the day, like my full time as a content creator. I do part time work, but full time it's content creation. So I am making time, whereas that's
Mhm.
Yeah.
not possible. But 2 years ago, I read 200 books in a year and I was blasting through like 20 books a month. And I cannot do that anymore. So, like, in the same way you look back on your college time, I look back on them and I'm like, how? How did I do that?
Yeah. The terrifying thing is that I was an English major. I had
Oh my
so
gosh.
much reading to do for class, and yet I
Yeah.
managed to do that. I don't know. I can't even remember. I feel like I just
Mhm.
blacked out during that time, and it was just like, I think I was avoiding all coursework. But
Mhm.
yeah, definitely am not doing that anymore. But
Wow. I cannot relate to you guys in the slightest. So that's it for me.
And we did touch on like Cameron. You talked about how like a childhood classic for you was the Infernal Devices. But Heather, I'm curious if you had like, your own childhood classic or like teenage years, anything that really stood out to you.
So really, I'm going to be so basic. It was the Maze Runner series. And when I say I used to reread that series over and over and over again, my dad bought me the books finally because he was like, okay, you can't check them out from your school library. Other kids want to read the books.
Oh,
And I read those. I was a, I never wanted to branch out. That was my thing as a child. Like I read a lot, but I never branched out from those books. I just kept reading them over and over again.
Oh,
oh,
I love that.
hello.
Malfoy is visiting.
Yeah,
Hi, Malfoy.
sorry. I hear him in distress, and it's only a matter of time. Okay, sir.
Hi, Malfoy.
He's the sweetest.
Like, do you have your top three werewolf romances?
Oh, yes.
Mm, I have two.
Okay.
I
Do
have
share.
two. War of Hearts. That is a new top one for me. I can't even remember the author because I read the book so fast I barely had time to look at the cover. It was so good. I've recently been talking about that book on social media because the MMC, Cameron, you're gonna love this. He's 6'6" and Scottish.
Give it to me!
He drives like a Land Rover that like goes off road. I know. And he's
Okay.
alpha of his pack.
Oh,
And it was an incredible read. He has to like hunt the FMC. And those vibes were just giving me like adrenaline. And then it was just incredible. It was incredible. And he's also a sweetie. Like you would think he'd be really mean
mm.
because he's the alpha of his werewolf pack. Like, oh my gosh. But he was actually so kind and I loved him. I think his name
Wow.
was Connell.
Oh!
Oh,
And
Cameron. Oh,
I
boy.
know.
yeah,
Oh
I
my
think
god,
that
I'm
was his
having a
name.
heart attack. Okay. Well,
So read that. The cover of that one's nothing too scary. So
okay.
you can,
Remind
and
me of the
then
name again?
War of Hearts
War of Hearts. Just gonna write
was
that down
good.
quickly.
And then
Malfoy.
the other werewolf romance book is Tyrant Alpha's Rejected Mate. And I've also been talking about this one a lot on social media recently. It is a crazy concept of a book and a crazy cover. If you look at the cover, I don't want to hear any judgment because it's like actually foul. So the reason I found this book last year is I was reading some books for a YouTube video, and the third book I was to read in this YouTube video, I was like, I'm not vibing with this. This isn't working. I need to binge something like really quickly, and I need something just crazy. And I looked up werewolf romance books, like give me something that I've never read before, and Tyrant Alpha's Projected Mate came up, and I was like, okay, this is exactly what I need. I read the entire thing in a day, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The tyrant alpha, who's like really mean, rejects his mate, and he's like, "You are a low life. You are not mine." And she's like, "You're my mate, though." And he's like, "I don't hang around scum like you." And you're reading the beginning of the book, like, how's he gonna recover from this, man? Like, you've got to be kind. And then he's like, "Wait, I actually really like her," and you're like, "Duh, duh."
I
Very
just
basic, but good.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and that is definitely an e-reader. Read.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't want that book on my shelf, actually.
I'm so excited because my only experience with werewolf romances is Bride
Yeah.
and um
Twilight?
Twilight. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Both incredible books. I love those as
Yeah,
well.
but I haven't like like really untapped this intense is wait, so if the romance book is about werewolves, is it part of the omegaverse? Because I don't really know what the omegaverse is.
So I'm a little confused on the Omegaverse too. There's a lot of different things that go into making something Omegaverse, but werewolf does not equate to Omegaverse necessarily. There's like a lot of different random little things that
Mm.
make something Omegaverse because I originally thought Tyrant Alpha's rejected mate. God, we got to get an abbreviation for that. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I thought that was Omegaverse, and I actually said that on TikTok the other day. I was like, "This one's Omegaverse," and someone commented they were like, "Just because it has X, Y, and Z doesn't make it Omegaverse, so it's not." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I actually don't know what I'm talking about." And I'm serious. I don't mean that in a mean way. I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." So I don't know actually anything. Omegaverse is its own thing
Wow.
sometimes.
So is Bride?
Bride is not.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Bride
thought
has
it was. Okay, I gotta
so
research.
No, me too. Bride apparently has qualities of Omegaverse, but it's just werewolf romance.
Yeah, I remember when the book came out, there was a lot of discourse about like I also know nothing about
Same.
Omegaverse, so I was like, okay, what are people talking about? What is this? Is it like because you'd think werewolf, right, would mean instantly like it's part of Omegaverse, but apparently it's not. So that's a really interesting topic that, quite honestly, I would study in school if they offered
Yeah.
it. But
Next podcast episode, deep dive on Omegaverse.
yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, that would bring us to the very end, which is so sad because where did the time go? But it was so great having you, Heather. Thank you for answering all of our crazy questions and chatting about romance. It's always so nice to have these discussions with fellow romance lovers. And to all of our listeners, you can find Heather at Heath's Book Club across socials. Do check out, especially your YouTube channel, your vlogs are chef's
Thank
kiss.
you.
Hmm. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on @GetFable on TikTok or @Fable on Instagram for more bookish content.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the Book Nook.